So preparing to stream on the webinar. All right, it should come up now. So, all right, well, let's get this party started. Oops. All right. So where am I? Oh, I lost my documents. Oh, can this be? Well, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're from. Welcome to our 14th episode of our Gutenberg Times Live Q&A. And I'm still looking for my notes. Hang on. So my name is Birgit Pauli-Haag, and I'm the curator on Gutenberg Times and your host tonight. So thank you all for watching. It's great to have you. Today is all about teaching Gutenberg, and we're gonna explore the question from all different kind of angles, what it takes to teach site owners and content creators about the WordPress new block editor. And I'm thrilled to have these three strong educators take the time out of their busy schedules to discuss this in depth with you and me. So we have Angela Bowman, and her site is AskWPGirl.com. She teaches in-person beginners and advanced WordPress and workshops in Boulder, Colorado. We also have Bud Kraus from New York, and his site is joyofwp.com. He offers WordPress training with a personal touch. And Shawn Hesketh of WP 101, who offers online courses for WordPress. And via his WP 101 plugin, he offers the hundreds of awesome training videos to agencies and hosts. We do proper introduction in less than a minute, but a little bit about the format today. Thank you for attending the Zoom and the YouTube thing. We use the chat window so you can tell us where you're from and where you're listening from and who you are. And we're using the Zoom Q&A feature to that you can access on the bottom of your screen. There's a chat bubble and a Q&A kind of thing. So chat is for saying hello and all the comments and all the background chats if you want to do that. And the Q&A is for us to answer your questions live. In YouTube, there's also a chat, and we use that for Q&A as well. So let's use it and type where you're from and for which part of the world you're watching. That would be great. So, well, Mark from San Antonio, thank you. Hello. Yeah. Bethany from Boulder. That might be a good friend of Angela's. Janice from Fort Myers. Linda from Naples. Hi, Linda. And Adam Warner from Florida. Adam Warner from, we know you. Patty of Florida as well. So there's a lot of things going on in Florida that does not keep people from coming into our show. And Michelle from Boston. And we answered that live. Yes. Okay. So let's start the speaker introductions. We have some awesome guests who work not only in and on their business, they're also deeply involved in the WordPress community team. So Angela, apart from training and consulting, you are also a co-organizer of your local WordPress meetup, and you do so many other things. So tell us about yourself. Where do you live? What do you do for fun? And what's the new and exciting thing you're working on?
So I live in Boulder, Colorado. And Boulder is surrounded by a huge amount of open space. And so what I do for fun is explore all the trails and hiking opportunities in our area. Recently, my car died, and I didn't have the heart to buy a new car. So I bought an e-bike, which is kind of an electric assist bicycle. It's a normal bicycle, but I thought, with climate change, global warming, and all these magnificent interconnected trails in our city, why not just bicycle? So that's kind of my new fun, exciting thing I'm exploring. And in terms of WordPress, some of you may know that I've started this Women in WP podcast with Amy Masson and Tracy Apps, and we are having so much fun interviewing women from around the world. And I just wait every 2 weeks with bated breath. Like, I can't wait for it to drop each time. So I wish we were pushing them out faster, but we're just trying to pace ourselves. So that's my new and exciting thing. Oh, you're muted.
Hello?
Oh, I think Birgit, she's muted. You're going to have to repeat yourself.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm
she
just
is
talking
muted.
and
There
talking
she is.
and
She's just talking to
Here I am.
herself.
Yeah. I wanted to say, Angela, what's the URL where people can catch that podcast?
Oh, yes, of course. That's very important. womeninwp.com. And you can get it on all of your podcasting subscription methods, iTunes, etc.
All right. Well, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Good. So, Bud, what are you doing? Sorry. You're not working. If you're not working on your business, you're involved in WordCamp New York City. I know. But so tell us about yourself.
Well, the thing I do the most, I guess, in my spare time is play guitar. That's the thing I just enjoy. I just bought a 12-string guitar, and I'm about to buy a ukulele because since I can't master 12 strings, maybe I can master 4. And so I do that. And I also, I used to garden, but I don't do as much gardening anymore because the animals have like overtaken everything. They sort of have won, so I don't do that. And, you know, travel is a really good thing. It's a good way to get away from the congestion of where I live because I live really close to New York City. But, you know, I love the city, and where I live, it's, you don't really feel like you're in New York, but there's plenty of cars and traffic, that's for sure. As far as WordPress goes, I started teaching web design 20 years ago at Pratt Institute, and I gradually morphed into teaching WordPress because it was sort of the natural thing where everything was going. And on my site, joyofwp.com, there's like lots of free videos out there. I actually have them organized in 2 different courses. And my site is sort of like a huge lead generator, so that you look at my course and say, hey, I'd like to hire Bud to work on my website, which does happen. And it's also something for me to refer to clients, you know. Hey, the big thing, though, is that if you're interested in anything that I do and you want to keep up with WordPress, I run this thing called the WordPress Big 3. It's a newsletter that comes out every Sunday. All you have to do is go to joyofwp.com/newsletter and sign up. It's pretty simple. So check it out. So that's what
awesome. Yeah, thanks for being here, Bud. And Shawn, your video tutorials, I'm sorry, your tutorials have been seen by thousands of people. So tell us a little bit about yourself and where you live and what you do for fun and what you're working on next.
I live in hot, humid Houston, so I try to do as many activities indoors and in air like a good Houstonian does. So we eat at a lot of restaurants, and I hang out in a cigar lounge and enjoy cigars and whiskey and these kind of things in the fun times. So also, we enjoy traveling. My wife and I have 3 kids, and because we homeschool them, we're able to travel. So we like to spend extended periods of time in other places, including Florida. So we try to travel as much as possible. And then we make a point of attending as many WordCamps as possible. So we enjoy travel quite a bit. But yeah, I started the original WordPress 101 video series that I created back in 2008 was recorded because I needed a resource to provide to my clients. So I was doing freelance design at the time, and I needed a resource that I could leave with my clients so I didn't have to continue doing one-on-one personalized training as I had done over and over and over again. I thought there had to be a better way to do this. So I recorded this series of video tutorials over 10 years ago, put it up as a membership site, largely at the request of some friends of mine who are also WordPress developers and said, I need that for my clients, set it up as a website, as a membership site, and I'll send my clients your direction. That was 2008. And since then, our videos have been viewed by over 2 million people. So
not thousands, millions. Yes.
Yeah, which just blows my mind. It's humbling, but it's also a lot of fun.
Yeah, I can only, if you're an agency, small or big, I can only say good things about it. Yeah, people like them and they discover them. I'm not always pointing them to it, but I'm always installing it. So yeah, well, that brings us back to our question. So let me ask you this. Well, Gutenberg is a whole topic, and I think we can definitely do a 2-hour series or 5 hours or even 10 hours here about Gutenberg and the good things. So you as a trainer and talking to other people and content creators and site owners, what are the 3 features that everybody, once they got over their hurdle and after they kind of got over there, yes, it's new. What are the 3 features that they like, that they say, oh, that kind of triggers them? Oh, this is really cool. Do you have an answer to that?
I have one I can mention. I think the gallery feature is really awesome. I think what you can do with images and with the galleries is really great. I'd like to see being able to do a light box with the gallery would make it even better. So I'm going to write a little tutorial on that. Mm-hmm. But people just, I think if I want to wow someone with why they want to use it, just diving into the image and gallery features is the one thing.
Okay. Yeah. Bud, what's yours?
Well, I think, I did a talk at a meetup in New York recently on the subject of Gutenberg plugins, because I think that we're so limited by the blocks that come with WordPress by default. They're sort of like primitive and, not really useful. Like, how am I going to make a website?
It's early.
So I started looking at all these different plugins that extend what Gutenberg does. And of course, this is a huge direction of what's going on now with this whole new genre of Gutenberg plugins. And, you get, I'm not going to mention all the names, but they're out there. I did a whole post on this, which is probably the most popular post I've ever written. And I like the fact that there's, there's a lot of good development going on to extend what Gutenberg offers by default. So I just tell people, you're not just.
I'm sorry. I'm kind of, What's the feature?
Well, it depends. Like, for example, a table of contents that's dynamically created, or there's a lot of guys are doing these like shape dividers now that divide sections of content, different blocks with sort of SVG artwork. So there's a lot of really good stuff going out there that you just don't get with with Gutenberg.
Is there a feature that's actually built into the Gutenberg editor that you can kind of show off, that people say,
I don't really like any of them that I can save, because I just.
All right. Okay.
They sort of do the basic things, paragraphs. I will say one thing, as long as we were asking on one feature, I do like the fact that they've paid much more attention to HTML markup in Gutenberg, specifically how headings and subheadings are being used, so that people no longer are using them just to make font bigger. I think that's a really good move in the right direction for everybody. So that's one good feature.
Shawn, what do you think?
I hear from users that they like the links and buttons. The ability to create buttons is a relatively simple thing, right? But buttons are something we all have to use. It's a call to action. It's used all over the place. And the fact that you can now do that with a beautiful block that allows you to change the colors and styles is really great. But I have to echo what Bud said as well. Some of the real power and potential, I think, is in nesting these blocks so you can create reusable chunks of blocks that you might use. So for example, for displaying team biographies with a photo and their social media handles and a little description, being able to save that then as a block, a reusable block, and then use that over and over again in other pages is really helpful. And there is, there are a bunch of companies now that are making third-party blocks without committing to any of those, though there's a service called Design Hub, wpdesignhub.com. And guys are just creating layouts using only the default blocks in Gutenberg. And they've got over 100 different layouts for all kinds of things, calls to action and testimonials. And so they kind of done the layout for you, nesting the blocks for you. Then you can use those in your page layouts. And we could never do this before Gutenberg. So there's a lot of flexibility. And that's what I hear most people love the most about it once they get past that initial bump, as we were talking about.
Yeah. Well, what I see is that I think that the cover block now that you can have a headline and a text and a button in there will be very, very popular once people discover it and have it in their in their plugin or in their site, because right now it's only available in 5.3 Gutenberg, which will come out with the WordPress 5.2 on April 30th. Then it will be in there. Yeah. So now that we had the good things, what are the hurdles? What are people stumbling on? And I'm gonna. Well, Angela, do you want to start again?
Sure. I complained about this on Twitter recently, but when you are using Gutenberg and wanting to do layout, you have to get your head around the concept of rows and columns like you do with any page builder plugin. And so I try to emphasize that in my classes when I'm teaching to more of the designers who want to use it for potentially for page layout. It's like, okay, well, you need a row, you need columns. And what I discovered is on smaller monitors, often the built-in columns with Gutenberg, I don't recommend people use. So I'm turning them on to the Ultimate Gutenberg add-ons plugin or co-blocks. I really like the co-blocks rows and columns feature. I think the Ultimate add-on has some possibilities that I liked, but it was a little too much and too confusing and hard to manipulate. So that brings up one issue, is just it being hard to figure out where you are in the block to get to the settings you want to get to and to manipulate it. It's kind of a little bit of black magic, and you've got to do some incantations and you've got to sprinkle some pixie dust on it. And then like maybe you can get to the place where you need to go to be able to manipulate things. But one of my big complaints with the rows is that if you set them to pop out and you're on a smaller monitor, you can't get back to the settings you need to get to change them because your monitor's too small. And so you really have to have a pretty large monitor to be able to work with some of the ways that the blocks are set up right now. At least that's my experience. Maybe I'm missing something, but it's
so these
hard.
are the hurdles that you see. But what are the hurdles that your students that kind of want to create content?
I think it's all of that. It's kind of like, where am I and how do I get to where I am? And so they're having that same frustration with finding the settings, or sometimes the settings are just randomly different. I think there's just a lot of bugginess in a lot of the Gutenberg blocks, not just in the core blocks, but in the plugins as well. So the plugin developers are still working through a lot of their issues. And so I think that's just confusing to people, because it's like, am I losing my mind, or is this really not working properly? I guess that's kind of my experience with it, is just getting to where you need to do stuff can be really hard.
Yeah, that's my life with WordPress, period. Is it me or is it WordPress? So, Shawn, what do you think? What are the biggest hurdles that you see, or the most questions that come up?
Yeah, I get complaints about columns. And that's one of the most frustrating. It definitely is buggy, right? It's early days. We kind of recognize there are some issues that they're being ironed out as we go along. But even when I was recording the video tutorials to demonstrate columns, it took 3 or 4 takes just to have the behavior of have columns behave the way that I wanted them to in the video, the way that they should, right? So I had to do multiple takes in order to get that right. And that's not the best experience. So obviously, it's very confusing. Getting back into blocks once you've created, not just creating columns, but once you've nested some blocks inside there, how do you select the actual block you want to edit is still a challenge. And then, we continue to have the same, there is this, I'm sure everyone who's ever taught WordPress to someone has dealt with this. It is the abstraction between what you see in the editor and then having to jump out to the front end and see, what are the effect of the changes that you just made? And that disconnect hasn't gotten any better, really, or only marginally better, I think, with Gutenberg. And depending on the theme that you're using and whether or not it has support for all the Gutenberg blocks, you're having a totally different experience. So most of the questions I'm fielding now are, now I'm understanding what to do with the blocks. I'm building some pages in my page editor, but then I jump out to the front end and it blows all apart. What's going on? Well, that's because your theme is doesn't support Gutenberg. And so there still is a gap that we're having to close between the back end editing experience, what you actually see on the front end, and then hopefully theme creators are as quickly as possible, building in that kind of support for this new editor, because it's really confusing right now.
yeah, I get this. And we get quite a few comments and questions. So I'm going to go through them. We have, Adam says buttons for the win. That was kind of on that earlier thing. And then, so why don't people, I think that's Mark having that question. Why don't people use local hosts such as Flywheel to test learn Gutenberg and all the upgrades before using them live and complaining about Gutenberg? I have used it since September and have almost no problems. Yeah, people don't test, right?
A lot of new users aren't going to know about local, and they're not going to know about desktop server. They just, if you're talking about new users, man, I mean, just getting them to install a WordPress site, everybody thinks it's so easy. And one thing I've learned as a teacher is to take out the word easy, because that word is just banned from my vocabulary when I teach. I just don't use it. Because
how about the word just?
or it's intuitive. It's anything but intuitive. I don't think it's intuitive at all. Yeah. I always have to remind myself, what was it like when I first started teaching myself WordPress? And now we've added this whole layer of complexity, Gutenberg, with a whole lot of hidden UI that people just have no idea. Think about it. If you just
we don't have a manual, right? Yeah. Have you discovered the manual on WordPress.org yet?
Yeah, but not everybody's going to read manuals. They're going to be
There is actually one.
Yeah. So you click on things and see what happens.
Right. Yeah. So the next question was, what's your favorite block solution for full width rows with background image or video? Do you need to have a theme in order to accomplish this? Who wants to take it? Do you know? You want?
I can say something briefly. So yeah, you don't. I think you need a theme, like Shawn was saying, that is WordPress Gutenberg compatible, and that will allow, depending on what Gutenberg tool you're using to do these features, they may or may not pop out the content with your theme. So that's the main thing that you're going to find, is that you want to have like a full width content piece, but if your theme is kind of restricting the content width, and depending on how the block is dealing with that potential restriction, will determine whether it successfully works or not. And if it doesn't, you can usually use some sort of CSS to override that. But having a Gutenberg friendly theme that will allow that content to pop out, there's so much that you can do with these additional Gutenberg plugins that you could do full page layouts with them, just like Shawn was mentioning with the one website where they're doing those already.
Yeah, there is, and I hope I'll find it soon. Soon. I was trying to maybe search on the background, but the Gutenberg handbook, and you can reach this through the GitHub repository. They have a whole page of theme support, how they actually explain how you can add the align width and full to your theme. It's pretty much a one line of code, and then of course you need to style it. But it also gives you the style for it. So, so once you have that, the aligned width, I think you can use the cover image, the cover block, to have your background image and your your paragraph or so with it. Yeah. So, so Linda asked, I just installed Gutenberg on our new, not yet ready site today. Yes, I hesitated for ages, fear of change. What I found so great today was being able to copy and paste content from my old classic editor site into the new one and have it appear as blocks. Hooray! Well, congratulations, Linda. And then Adam, it's funny. I think, am I missing something here? Is the question that comes a lot in his experience. And then, so how can we do what we can do with page builders without using page builders? Yeah, that's kind of a loaded question, right? You want to take that, Shawn? You were laughing, so I think you have an answer.
Yeah, I mean, what we're seeing with page builders like Beaver Builder and Elementor is they're doing a fantastic job of extending it, right? So they're going beyond the basic blocks. A year ago, we didn't have any other choices. If you want to do this kind of modular building, page layout building style, you use the page builder. So what we're seeing now is they're kind of adapting to this brave new Gutenberg world, and then creating many more blocks in addition to the default blocks that are included in WordPress. So there's a lot more design flexibility. But when you go down that road, you're also investing and trusting that page builder is going to be around. What we know about the Gutenberg project is that today we have blocks that allow us to create media rich pages and posts. But in phase 2 of Gutenberg, we're actually going to see more layout controls, headers, footers, sidebars, and these kinds of things. When we do that, then the lines are going to get even more blurry for things that we turn to page builders today for. So in the next year or two, I don't know, it could end up being that you could do a lot more out of the box with default WordPress, things that right now today you have to use a page builder for. So what happens then? What happens to your site when you've created a lot of that content that's relying on page builders? So I think that's a huge question to consider.
And if I can add something real quick, you know, what this is going to mean is that people who train and teach people, we are constantly having to update our materials. We can't just throw out something that was good right now and then, you know, you can't do, and it's going to be a real challenge. How are you going to build your courses, build your instruction, knowing that, hey, what I'm teaching now in 3 months or creating now in 3 months, there's no such thing as evergreen content. Is I guess that's sort of what I'm saying.
Cool.
This is a train that's just moving really fast.
That's right.
And then I wonder how people will adapt to this as we go forward. It's a real challenge, not just for trainers, but for people who are just casual users of WordPress. How are they going to absorb these changes that are going on? Maybe a little bit too fast. Maybe things have to slow down a little bit. I don't know. It's my thought.
I wish it would I think it just needs to speed up a whole lot more.
Okay.
Because I just want to pull off the Band-Aid and just, you know, like just, we're moving on, you know.
Give it to us, right.
This in between place, I just finished teaching a 6-week theme customization course. And it's for people who want to build websites for clients, you know, so teaching them the tools that they need to know how to do robust, custom, beautiful websites. And like, yeah, I'm in this whole Frankenstein schizophrenia with how to teach this. So I made sure to teach them all the Gutenberg concepts and the Gutenberg tools that are there, but I still relied on a page builder. But I kept reiterating over and over, this is going away. We're moving to this new method soon. Instead of these elements and these things that you're using with the page builder, you'll have your favorite block collection that you'll be curating and using with your clients. And you know, just trying to transition them to thinking about that, but it makes teaching so hard. And I didn't teach the course for 2 years under the threat of Gutenberg. And I'm like, I just have to bite the bullet and teach it, but it is so challenging. Yeah.
Yeah. And the big parts of page building is there's no navigation bar that you can go with Gutenberg. There's no sidebar widgets that you can, they're just coming in, and that's the second phase. And I hope but they're getting to that. Yeah. We have another comment from Bethany. The big challenge for teaching is if students are coming in with sites someone else has built. Each is so different. Some using a builder, some using classic editor, and some using Gutenberg. And that's certainly, what is
WordPress 101 in that context?
That's a question
what is it?
Every single day.
But I must say, I migrated a website that somebody else has built and make it ready for editors to finally use it. And we kicked out 26 plugins and just use plain Gutenberg with a few. So the first go-to block suite that I installed was Adam Blocks by Mark McAllister. Who then got bought. His theme shop is Array Themes. You might have heard from him. And he got just bought by Genesis, by WP Engine as well. So that's certainly available through that. So next question is, how do you find out how well a theme works with Gutenberg? I'm wondering if different themes that say they are Gutenberg compatible may not all be the same. What's your advice, Bud?
Well, I'm a simple person. I would start out, if you're not really sure, use 2019 as sort of your baseline to see because we know 2019 is going to play nicely with Gutenberg and show off some of the core Gutenberg features. So I would start there and be wary of all these different theme shops that say Gutenberg. What is that? There's a whole lot of discussion going on. What does it mean? Gutenberg compatible. What the heck does that? I'm not really sure that I can answer that, or anybody really can answer that. That's really up for debate.
Yeah, it's not a binary thing either.
Really starting out, you're just not really sure about the capabilities of these plugins, whether they're core or with these with the Gutenberg plugins. Mm-hmm. Then start with 2019, because that's a really good. I think it's a pretty good place to start.
So how, Shawn, how would you test a theme for Gutenberg readiness?
Yeah, I was going to say first, I would visit the homepage for the developers, because if they put in the time and effort to make their theme Gutenberg compatible, believe me, they're going to be advertising that because it's no small amount of work. So supporting one block, like making the cover images, as we talked about, full width, maybe one line of code. But if you have support for all of the blocks, that's probably something they're going to lead with. So I would look at the homepage for the theme. And typically we're seeing support being rolled out a lot quicker from more established theme shops. And so you mentioned Mike McAllister and Atomic Blocks, which is a fantastic theme, and also their own plugin that extends the blocks, one of those third-party block tools that we were talking about earlier. But also the Studio Press family of themes. There's a lot to choose from in there. So when you pick a theme framework like that, or a theme shop that's got dozens and dozens of themes, you know that they're going to be supported. Less likely in the larger marketplaces where you've got thousands and thousands of themes created by people all around the world who may or may not have the time and bandwidth, like a full-time dev shop or team, to be able to bring all their themes up to date. So the best thing to do is to find the more information about the theme, visit the homepage. They're bound to be singing that feature set and that compatibility from the rooftops, I would imagine.
Angela, anything to add?
I'd say, it's hard when you're going to buy a theme because then you're having to invest in it before you can try it out. So like Bud said, with the free themes, you can play with them and see how they're working and compare them to the default theme. Mm-hmm. With the paid ones, I just ditto Shawn. Like, I'd stay away from those places that have a lot of trees. And
they're also not GPL, so we don't talk about that.
Right. And, definitely going for, I think, I'm curious about like the popular themes like Generate Press. There are some free themes on the repository: Generate Press, Astra, Ocean WP, and then the Studio Press, those bigger places. But a lot of people who are new to WordPress don't know any difference between any of these themes. Like those of us who have been here for a while, we know the ecosystem of WordPress, and we know who are the good players, and we know the more, kludgy kind of setups. And so I think it's more a general education about where do you find reputable themes in general. And then when you get into that space, then maybe you're going to find your more Gutenberg compatible ones that are truly playing by the rules.
I get a lot of questions like my existing theme, how do I find out if that is Gutenberg ready, or at least can, even if it doesn't do the full width of kind of, how can I see if all the blocks are actually displaying? And Rich Tabor, also a very early Gutenberg champion, and the co-blocks that Bud mentioned are from him. He has a plugin called Block Unit Test. It sounds techy, but it's actually a plugin where you can install, and it gives you, and I share the link there, that creates a page on your site with all the blocks in that, and you only have to click on the preview button, and it shows you how your theme actually manages that. And I think that's the fastest way to find out if your existing theme works. And that also you could, if you don't know if they're really the new theme, it's really compatible, or does the blocks really display well, use that as well. And you'll be pretty, you at least get something up and running. So that was one of the questions.
That is, I get that question a lot, actually, because people who have older themes or older sites that are well established, and last time they installed a theme was years ago potentially. And so now if the theme is not compatible, their question is, what do I do with that? So we're sending a lot of people to Codable to have them add that type of customization. They can do it very cheaply, very affordably.
Right.
Support for Gutenberg blocks. And I'm sure there are other companies and services as well. But right now we're referring a lot of people to Codable to have that kind of work done to make these older themes compatible. So it's a little bit reinventing the wheel, because now it's unfortunate that a site owner would have to pay to bring their theme up to date. And then how many other people are using the same theme, potentially doing the same thing, right? Paying the same cost. Add compatibility. So again, it kind of comes back to Angela's recommendation to find, if you have the opportunity to change your theme, or you're starting a new site, make sure you're doing that with a reputable theme in the very beginning. Some people just aren't so lucky. And so if you have an existing site, probably going to end up having to hire somebody to add some code to make your site compatible.
And one thing we've decided to do with our meetup is an hour before our meetup, we're going to start doing these site audits for people because, Bethany, who's one of the participants here, teaches a WordPress 101 class. And she's struggling with like, what do I tell these people? I can give them all this instruction, but they can't do anything actionable with it if they don't know what condition their site is in. So I said, well, this is kind of a community problem. Let's make it a community problem. So I've got like 4 or 5 volunteers to come in for an hour and just check people's sites out and kind of tell them, what PHP version are you on? And can you even upgrade to the latest WordPress? And then let's check out your theme and how old it is. But a lot of people, even just to make that transition, need someone who's a little more senior and professional just to even look at their site.
Yeah.
That's a huge challenge. That's a big hurdle to overcome.
Yeah. And there are quite a few, I'm just doing a little self-plug here. On the Gutenberg Times, I have 2 articles. One is how you test your theme with a lot of instructions in there. And also how to actually create a test site. If you are migrating an older site or an existing site that you depend on for your livelihood, definitely use a staging site. And I have an article with very basic instructions on how to create a staging site for free with Pantheon. And the instructions are actually tested by my 94-year-old friend, who's not a techie, but she is, kind of gets over any of the new stuff, but she follows direction. And she said, if you don't watch the videos, you're not going to watch the videos, then the instructions are fine. But that's kind of how you can, then your older site, it migrates it over with all your content, and you can kind of test it with your content. Yeah. So, Bethany said she appreciates the site audit. Thank you, Angela. Do you recommend, next question from Mark, do you recommend using the most basic updated themes for copyright changes, the use templates for that point? I'm not getting that question. I'm sorry. Do you recommend using the most basic updated theme for copyright changes, the use templates for that point on? Oh, that you want to change the copyright for it? That's, I don't know, you don't have to change the copyright because the copyright is normally yours, on the site. Yeah, but any thoughts on that?
Yeah, that may not have been typed the way that he intended there, but I think we are seeing a trend toward the most basic themes, right? They're just barely there because what they're really supporting is blocks. And then you're kind of creating every page layout the way that you want it to be. So these days, if you're starting a new site, then you can use a very basic default theme. Like, again, Atomic Blocks is one. There's others that you could use. It just kind of covers the very basics. And then you are using page layouts, custom page template to create the templates for future content. So I think that may have been what he's getting at there. Mark, you can correct me if, okay, good.
Yeah. And props to the core contributor. There was a team who actually backported all the Gutenberg readiness to back to 2011 theme. And I find this really remarkable that people would actually go back and make those default themes also Gutenberg ready. So people who are using those can actually kind of also be working very well with the new block editor.
And that was no small task either. That is hats off to those. Sure.
Yeah.
And Mark, just to piggyback on that question too, I think we're seeing a trend away from these gigantic all-in-one themes that can build any type of site you can imagine, and more toward themes that are more basic, right? But support for more blocks. So Elementor is one of the most prolific, I think, block creators or tools out there right now. And so finding themes that support Elementor is probably a good place to start.
Good. Yeah, I'm just kind of putting those links in there that they ask about the 2 articles that I mentioned. Glad that we covered what Mark wanted to know. Excellent. So the one question is that if you are have you built any blocks yourself, or are you working with a developer to build blocks, custom blocks or dynamic blocks?
Yeah, we are actually. We're creating a tool that we needed in-house, and that's basically to create a very simple project roadmap for client projects. It just has a very simple series of checklists when something's going to be done, proposed time. So we actually took a stab at creating a plugin that creates a block for that, so we can actually just drag in blocks for an individual project. So it's still really rough, and we ran into a lot of issues along the way. So I'm not sure that we're not going to show that to anybody right now. It's an in-house tool, kind of a playground, but we're having fun learning how to do that.
Yeah,
definitely not in a space where I'm ready to start teaching that. Too much is changing. So I'm not about to dive into teaching people how to create their own blocks. So other people are doing a fantastic job of that. I'm going to stick with the 101 and helping beginners learn how to, to use Gutenberg to do what they want to do. But it's interesting.
Yeah. I'm hoping to use advanced custom fields to teach people how to build blocks, because I feel like that provides a very readily accessible method for kind of wannabe devs to get into building some of their own blocks. And so I haven't gone deep into that yet, but I think that could be super fun. I want to find a way to teach people who want to build blocks but don't want to learn JavaScript deeply, that they could still do it, with some other tools, that, and just leverage their CSS skills then.
There is actually a plugin. I don't know if you came across it, Bud, when you were doing your research, but there's a plugin. It's called Blocks Lab, and it was built by the developers from, I think, XWP, who are an enterprise level WordPress agency, and they work pretty closely with WordPress VIP group, and they have, so you don't have to know a lot about ACF to actually know how block would work, but that is in the block builder. Block Lab is also one where you don't have to know coding to create blocks.
Well, I haven't seen that one, but one that I thought had a lot of promise, at least I'm hoping, sort of pulling for it, is the Gutenberg Cloud Library. Because I think it's such an interesting idea. It sort of takes the WordPress way of doing things and allowing people to download the block that they want to use for their site. So it's not right. It's really kind of early stages for this thing, because every time I look at it, it's just like, come on, guys, this is not where I want to see it yet. Yeah. But the concept is really interesting.
Yeah. There is actually an initiative, and they are asking for comments to build a block directory through WordPress.org. And Alex from Australia has put in a proposal, and the developers are kind of figuring it out. I think it's on make.wordpress.org/core, somewhere in the latest updates. But these sites change so often that you kind of find out, even if you're just a week behind, you kind of need to scroll through 10 or 15 posts before you can actually find something there. So are we running out of questions? I can't believe this, audience.
There was one question in the Q&A.
Okay, yeah.
What are they hearing from their students, clients, users about something? Like, what is the most difficult thing about Gutenberg? Is there, maybe that's too general of a question, but is there like a sort of a thing that you're starting to see as a unique stumbling block? I'll give you, like, for example, I think finding how to remove something can be really difficult. I mean, in the very early versions of Gutenberg, you may recall that it used to have a little trash icon at the end of the block, and now it's hidden. And I wish that trash icon were at the end of the block, so it'd be just so much easier. Then you don't have to click, you don't have to do like 2 clicks. I don't know, anybody have something like that they can share or talk about, that they know it's a stumbling block for everybody?
Beyond Gutenberg itself?
Well, no, not just within the confines of Gutenberg. That, you're hearing over and over again. If this is just...
I think that's a common one. I think that getting to know what the difference is between those settings that show up on the side versus the options that show up at the top.
Yeah.
How do you get the options to show up at the top? Because sometimes you just have to click in this magical way to get those top options to show. And then like what Shawn was saying, like what block am I in? How do I get back to my block and my nested blocks? And it's those basic navigation things.
Yes, I agree.
That are, and that basic kind of settings and functions and getting to where you need to go. That's challenging. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, but that's what you have with any new user interface. Yeah, it's kind of all crowded and it's all, where am I? Yeah, so having a structured place where you can look up the different things. I think what helps a lot of people is when they not use the block toolbar right on every block, because it kind of covers things and it kind of is a little, so to use the top toolbar option, which is on the right-hand side, the 3 dots, and then you go further down and then click, and then the toolbar is right on top, and any block that you then click on has the toolbar right on top. Yeah, and it moves with you. Yeah, it's kind of...
Well, in my opinion, the block toolbar should be docked at the top by default. And then if you want to have it for every block, you should be able to then switch it so that's every block. You disagree?
Yeah, I'm sorry, that didn't...
This is the first thing I always do is dock the toolbar to the top.
Yeah, I think it's a 50-50 chance that they get people to like it. Yeah, so it's one of those things. Do we make it default or not? And it's kind of... So, but there are, Angela actually answered all the questions in the Q&A. That's why
there was one question, a woman, but look at that. Look at what she said. Maybe put that to the group.
So, well, Linda had a question, as well as listening to these experts discussing bugginess natural with something so new. Is a non-techie user better to stick with the classic editor until more bugs are worked out? I don't think so. My humble opinion is kind of stick with a new thing, figure it out, and you learn so much every time. But then also Linda said, an hour later, okay, darn, guess that means I keep going with Gutenberg on the being developed site. Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, Linda, if you are doing a new site, I would do Gutenberg all the way. Yeah, there's no sense in going backwards.
Absolutely. You know, think of it this way. Remember when a cell phone first came out, it was sort of buggy and they only had a few apps, and it was, think about, well, we're sort of in that era, like, cell phone 1.0, and they're not going back. Okay. This isn't going to be reversed and we're going to have the classic editor, back. It's just not going that way. So why, especially if you're a new user, why even think about that kind of thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
We always create videos that support the default out of the box experience. So we're only going one direction with our training, and that is, to the brave new world in which we find ourselves. I think ultimately that's the best way to ensure you're going to be supported for years to come. The good news is you don't have to do it today. So you can install the Classic Editor plugin. That's going to be supported through 2022, the year 2022. So you got a couple of years then if you want to prolong that decision and not dive right in right away. A lot can change in 2 years. So if you install the Classic Editor plugin today, that might buy you some time to be able to think more clearly about a strategy that might allow you to build in a new direction. But we typically encourage people to jump in, play with it, because what we're finding is as soon as they do, if you just start off and create a new page or new post, there are more moments where you go, oh, okay, this is really great. This is better. And just in terms of the page layouts that you can create today that you weren't able to do before Gutenberg, there's a lot more flexibility. So it takes a little bit of experimentation. There's a much sharper learning curve than we used to have. Our WP 101 video series used to be 20 videos. It was 20 videos for nearly 10 years. And this is the first time we had to significantly redo that. And we rewrote the entire course from the ground up, right? 34 videos. We had to add 14 new videos just to cover all the features and functions in the block editor. And there are new blocks coming, right, with each new release. And so that's the first time we've had to significantly change. And so my comment and the reason for sharing that is because I think it's easy to get lost in the weeds because there's so much you can do. There's so many new features, so many new blocks. And if you install a block editor like Elementor, you've got hundreds to choose from, potentially, blocks to choose from. So you have to be really clear about what you're doing and why. And so I think as educators, we kind of, we're kind of focused on the objective. What are you trying to do, first of all? Then we can talk about how to get there. What is the best method for getting there? What are the best tools that you'll need to accomplish that goal? But at the end of the day, objective-based or results-based teaching, I think, is the best approach. The tools are going to change. They're always going to change. They're going to continue changing for the next, who knows how many years, if we're all still lucky enough to be doing this. We're going to be teaching totally different tools 5 years from now. So yes. I would say the quicker you're able to adopt these tools to accomplish your goals, then the better off you're going to be.
Yeah. So Shawn, I wanted to just piggyback on that with Bethany's question. If you were teaching a WordPress 101 class, just like a set number of hours in front of people in person, would you even teach them the classic editor? Or would you just only teach Gutenberg?
I would teach Gutenberg. I would dive right into building your first page. Let's start with an about page, and that'll give an opportunity to learn how to use the various blocks in a very creative way. And that's the way that I would teach it. Yeah, that's the way we do teach it. I'm
starting 2 new classes next week, all online. I guess I don't teach in classes anymore. All online live classes, and I will hardly mention the word classic editor because it doesn't mean anything to these people. Right. It's Gutenberg.
I think it does, in the sense, like, if you have people coming in class and like you do have them coming in with the classic editor, one thing that they do need to know how to do is, if they want to convert that content, how to take that classic editor block and convert it to blocks, and be mindful that sometimes that process doesn't work. And maybe they need to copy and paste from the front end into the block, into fresh blocks or something. There's some strategies for converting over. So I think it is a little bit of a challenge, because in a way we also have to teach them how to get from here to there.
I think that's a very big hurdle there. Yeah. And also for people, Gutenberg is not going to touch your old content. Yeah. Unless you wanted to convert. Yeah. So, it's not going to do anything with it, and using it for and there are some plugins that actually don't use the Gutenberg editor yet for their, adding new stuff to it, like a theme or an events or something like that. Yeah. They have fallbacks to the classic editor anyway. Yeah. They're built in WordPress 5. In the current WordPress field. So the custom post type that those plugins kind of register, they say, don't use the Gutenberg, I'm stay with the old one, and then it will automatically come up. Yeah. So I think that's all. Do we have questions we missed? So, such as list and numbered problems. So Mark, there is a fragment there. I think I only get the tail end of it. So list ordered and list ordered or numbered problems. I think you want to use the newest plugin, because they really fixed some of the hiccups there with the lists. So I think we are all the time we have. We don't have any questions anymore, I think.
I think it says, can you talk a bit about the difference between the menu for editing the blocks versus style this page menu? I don't know what that is.
Style this page. Oh, that's probably one of the
page builders,
third-party page builders. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't have any experience with page builder, except that I'm throwing them out. And migrate them over. So Denise, are you still on the site? If you could clarify that a bit, then maybe the others can help you out with that.
I'm pretty sure that is in reference to a third-party plugin, page builder plugin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, seems that's all the time we have. I asked Shawn, Bud, and Angela to kind of take an hour in a little bit. So, but this has been fun. This was a great show, and there's so much wisdom in all of your heads. I wish we could do another 3 hours, and we probably would fix Gutenberg right away. But if people want to get in touch with, so I have only 2 more questions for you 3. If people want to get in touch with you, how would they best do it? And do you have any announcements that you couldn't talk before, or that you didn't mention before? And this is your chance. Shawn, you want to start?
Yeah, sure. Well, obviously, you can find us at WP101.com on all the socials. We're also WP101. My personal Twitter handle is leftlane, LEFTLANE, so you can find me there. And then we just launched a brand new version of our WP101 plugin that we talked about earlier, just in this past month. And it adds a lot of new features and capabilities. We're really proud of it. We completely rewrote the plugin from scratch. So this is kind of a recurring theme. We redid our entire WordPress 101 video series from scratch, and then also the plugin. So you can check out that plugin. That's perfect for installing on your client sites if you're an agency or a host. So definitely check those out. Also, last year, I spun up a new business because apparently I had too much free time. So I actually launched 101videos.com, and I'm really excited about this. This is a custom video tutorial service. I'm partnering with a couple of phenomenally talented educators in their own right, Brian Richards of WP Sessions and Joe Casabona of Creator Courses. So the three of us together are tackling some really fun video projects, creating video tutorials for other WordPress products and services. So we're excited to see where that goes.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shawn. Bud?
Well, you can reach me at bud@joyofwp.com, or just go to my site, joyofwp.com, and my email address is over there. And I'm also on Twitter, and my handle is @joyofwp. So it's kind of simple to remember.
Love it.
So I'll put it in the wrong things here. So I'm sorry. I'm going to do it again. So Angela, how can people get in touch with you?
And I'm on most of the social networks as Ask WP Girl, and my website's askwpgirl.com. I hope to be writing more. And if you're going to WordCamp Europe, we're hoping to do a live show, or at least an interview at WordCamp Europe of women in WP. And I hope that men and women would be taken interest in the podcast and suggest guests and sign up to be a guest.
That's awesome. Yeah. I'm looking forward to whatever comes out from WordCamp Europe. I have a lot of FOMO for that. And this weekend is WordCamp London. It's another FOMO event for me. So I'm trying to catch the live stream there. But thank you to all our viewers and listeners for your great questions. If you have more questions, you can always send them to me via email at pauli@gutenbergtimes.com, PAULI @gutenbergtimes.com. A recording of this show will be available in a few minutes on the YouTube channel, and we'll publish the transcript and later on Gutenberg Times. And for the next show, we're taking a break in April. Well, this is the last show in April, and it's only April 5th. The next show will be on May 10th. And the show is sponsored by Pauli Systems and our generous supporters on Patreon. Thanks again to Angela, Bud, Shawn. It's been great joy talking to you and having you on the show. Thank you so much. And yeah, that's it for now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Be well.
It's been great.
Goodbye.
Bye.
And good luck. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.